Ashley, there's one burning question from the past week in AEW action, and I think you know what I'm talking about. It's that one spot from the world title match street fight between Jon Moxley and Cope. And my question for you in our opening fall of the night: should AEW have allowed Moxley and Cope to use Spike during this street fight?
Hey, I I think people kind of gotta get over this. I don't think it was. I mean, for Moxley, I'm sure it was awful because watching Wheeler Yuta try to pull Spike out of his back was probably the worst part of the whole situation. Um, but John Moxley's never shied away from these situations, and I think with the amount of kind of like backlash and pushback from their match at Revolution, I think Moxley definitely wanted to kind of leave this match with a big mark on it, and I think that was his choice. Although I will say I don't know if the intention there was to stick into his back that way. I don't know if they kind of intended him to more roll off the nails, but either way, not big enough. Not a big bed of nails for that.
Okay, so I've had about 5 days to think about this. And originally, I was more annoyed at this spot because I thought it was just a stupid spot for just being a stupid spot. But now I stopped and thought about it. I'm going like, you got John Moxley, you got Adam Copeland, combined their probably 40 years of professional wrestling experience. They're probably the only two people in this company that I would go like, okay, you guys want to do this? Sure, go ahead because I'm going to trust you guys have figured out how to do this. And kind of like you said, Ashley, I think they thought that Moxley would have probably bounced off of it and not get stuck onto his back like it did.
Yeah,
I d
because like I said, Wheeler Yuta coming out looked legitimately concerned when he went to pull it out and it didn't come out. Like it was that was the tough spot to see.
so I feel like if it's John Moxley character, so I can go, okay, that's John Moxley, and it's a street fight, so everything's legal. And why wouldn't he use the big bad weapon that you've been carrying around for the last 3 months and you never get a chance to use it? So here they went, and it got a lot of people talking about it. So something good had to come out of this.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we saw Spike, he didn't really get to get used because Christian was a little too afraid.
I would be too. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I would be too.
obviously, after this week, we saw for good reason.
Well, if you ever need to open up a suitcase or a box, just ask Cope for Spike and see if we can just tear into the box.
Not surprised to see Cope take the loss. And like, I'll say this, I don't think this was like AEW has, quite a few of these, and I feel like they're always kind of like controversial when they happen, like these kind of like gory spots. But like even as far as these matches, like I don't think this was like a like one of the best ones or anything, but I truly just hope Mox is okay after that because like I said, Wheeler Yuta struggling to get that out looked just awful to see. And despite how you feel about it, I don't like I said, I don't mind it as long as, like you said, Mox and Cope are experienced enough and they obviously okayed the spot. And, maybe eventually we'll find out if it was meant to end that way.
The only question I have about this that we'll probably never get an answer to, did Renee know about this before John Moxley went down to the ring and decided to do this?
And then she had to do like two interviews, like right after. I was like, she must be freaking out.
So I just wonder if Moxley, once he got home for that 11-hour trip, had to sleep on a couch in the guest bedroom somewhere or something. I don't know.
Oh my god, I don't know if he slept, to be honest.
So that has been our opening fall here on AE All Elite Radio. Leave us your thoughts in the comments below on our YouTube channel. Let us know where side of the coin you fall on. and we're going over to our AEW Dynamite recap. And Ashley, last week we both picked one person to win this four-way match. And somehow, some way, we both got it right.
Yeah, no, that's how good we are.
Because Speedball Mike Bailey and Ricochet did win the four-way match to face Kenny Omega for his title at AEW Dynasty. Now, granted, my guy decided to use the ropes when the referee wasn't looking to doing the count, but still, a win's a win.
You gotta take him how you can get him, and Ricochet shown he's not above this.
Very true. And I can't wait to this three-way match because I think this three-way match is gonna rock. It's Kenny Omega, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Ricochet. And I got a feeling Ricochet's in this to take the L.
Yeah. No, I feel that way too. And this match was very good, like, a very clean four-way. I thought, like, the spots were very good. Sometimes these matches can sometimes get disjointed with people and spots all over the place. So, a very good match. Um, kind I was surprised to see them go with both of them. I thought we would get one victor, but I'm never gonna turn down this three-way, that's being presented to us.
Well, they went from that match to their TBS championship match where we saw Mercedes Moné retain her championship by submitting Billy Starks. But this was a great showing for Billy Starks. This match, I feel like, has made Billy Starks in the eyes of the casual AEW fan.
Yeah, honestly, again, Mercedes Moné going out there and, like, anytime I see somebody say something about her, not being that great, she goes out there and she has a match like this. Like, man, we've already seen what Billy Starks can do with the prospect of her being involved in this Athena and Mercedes Moné kind of showdown. I'll be very excited to see where she is on the other side of this.
True, because on Collision, there was a backstage interview with Mercedes Moné where Mercedes Moné is asking, like, who is training this Billy Starks? Because if I trained Billy Starks, she might have been able to beat me, but clearly the person training Billy Starks is not good. So we're just dropping more breadcrumbs on the road to get Athena versus Mercedes Moné.
Oh yeah, and I'm ready.
So after that match, we move on to the AEW World Championship match, which we talked about in the opening fall. As John Moxley retains his AEW World Championship by defeating Cope. And we saw the return of everybody from the Death Riders, so Cope's beatdown did not last that long, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's always good to see Pac and Claudio come back. Wheeler Yuta, he's kind of a little shit, so.
And since we had some weather issues in Omaha last week, were some people not able to fly into Omaha to be on this taping of Dynamite. So we got the pleasure of seeing AR Fox versus Will freaking Osprey. And boy, this was a great match.
Yeah, this is one of those, I guess, like, break the glass in case of emergency type matches with both of those guys being available. Never gonna turn that down, and just as good as you could imagine.
Okay, ever seen this match? If I was Tony Khan, I would just keep AR Fox on speed dial. Like, just hit the button to bring him in for a match.
Listen, not to get too into it because I know we'll get into it a little later, but AR Fox gets, like, that reaction every time he's out there. We might not see it that often, but every time he's out there, he gets the crowd over on his side, and for good reason.
So the main event of this episode of Dynamite was Megan Bayne defeating Chris Statlander as we continue this build of Megan Bayne as we head towards AEW Dynasty and her eventual match with Timeless Tony Storm. This was a good match. I enjoyed it. It was kind of surprising to see this as the main event, but I figured it out once Timeless Tony Storm came down to do the promo and basically challenged Megan Bayne to the match at Dynasty. I'm like, going, oh, this is why this is the main event, and not the four way. Was I thought the four way would be the main event.
Yeah, honestly, there's a few matches that could have been the main event. I think that four-way, I think Mercedes and Billy could have main evented. Obviously, Cope and Mox could have been the main event. Um, I like the focus though, because I I can't even begin to gush enough about how much I love Toni Storm again. Um, and seeing this build with Megan Bayne, I like that we're getting to see a lot more from her. Um, I'll be interested to see where this tag team match goes this week.
That's gonna be an interesting thing to think about. We'll do that towards the end of the show, but before we leave this match, I gotta say Tony Storm with the line of the week, and I probably shouldn't say it for reasons here, but if you haven't seen Tony Storm's promo during this main event segment, go back and check it out because it cracked me up.
Oh, she's so good at this.
So we move over to AEW Collision, and it was 2 nights. It was an hour each. Their Grand Slam episodes, and the Saturday one had the TNT Championship rematch with Daniel Garcia and Adam Cole, and it ended in a 20-minute draw. Ashley, how do you feel about the draw? This match was great, but how do you feel about the draw?
I get what they're doing with it. It's not always my favorite fallback to for AEW. Especially when they telegraph it the way they do. Um, it's fine if you're going to have the time limit draws, but just announce the times in every single match. Then it doesn't then it's not so obvious when you're going to do it the one time you announce the times during the match.
Or give us more time intervals than this one, like 15 minutes have gone through this match, 5 minutes remains. And later on in this match, I think Tony is the one going to Nigel going like, I think they're almost out of time in this match because it's been a while since that 5 minute warning. And I'm going like, this is the trope about AEW going to draws. It's like they never count down. It's like, give me 10 minutes, give me 5 minutes, give me 3 minutes, give me 2 minutes, give me a minute. They
Right,
need
it's a 20-minute match. Just do one halfway and then do one at like the 3-minute mark, you know? Like do something, but like do it during every match. That way it's not like, oh, okay, this one will end in a time limit draw because we're acknowledging the time limit.
exactly, yes. And yes, this podcast will last approximately 30 minutes, give or take. Maybe I'll count it down later for you, I guess. But I get what they're doing. They're making this to a trilogy. We already had one, basically, Garcia win two different ways. So we're going to probably to the pay per view AEW Dynasty with these guys for the TNT title. Do you give Garcia 3 victories or Adam Cole, or do you flip this title like we want to see happen?
I have a sneaking suspicion we might have a new TNT champion. I mean, we've talked about this reign by Daniel Garcia and how like the matches are very good, but it hasn't felt like he's been doing anything very consistent. And I feel like they have a plan with Adam Cole, so I feel like we're going to be putting that title on him to kind of finish off whatever's going on with the Undisputed Kingdom here. Because even this week, they seem to kind of be some underlying things during their promo.
True, very true. There's a lot of things going on with the Undisputed Kingdom and FTR and a possibly split FTR or maybe a FTR heel turn. We'll just have to keep our eyes on that too.
Especially maybe even just a Dax heel turn because he seemed to be the one very angry this week.
Exactly, because I left that match thinking, are we going to see FTR go solo for a while? Maybe that's the next thing they want to do, and they literally have done everything in the tag team division. So why not let them have singles runs? And that's for sure has had one hell of a single run. We saw in short segments, so why not?
Yeah, I mean, you could have like I feel like I know they've talked about, not knowing how much longer they have left. Even if you did like a short arc where they like sort of break up and kind of reunite, you could definitely kind of bank on something like them reuniting and winning the AEW tag team titles one more time in the future. And maybe that's how they want to go out, or choose to maybe even leave AEW or something. Like, I'd love to see them back in that title picture. But like you said, like Dax had a really great run as a singles wrestler, and I'd love to see them explore that more. And even Cash had some really good singles matches, although we didn't get to see him quite as much.
Well, we move on to well, I am Queen now, the greatest professional wrestler alive open challenge as Max Caster issues his challenge, and the odds are not in his favor because each and every week somebody comes out that basically whips that ass. And this week is Hook.
Isn't it very awesome when you see them find the thing that clicks? Like, we were so sick of Max Caster a few weeks ago, and this character has been phenomenal. Like, him coming out as the chicken shit heel who just gets his ass beat by everybody. Like, I am very excited to see, like, Bowen's got a mention last night. I'm hoping that means he'll come back soon and we'll get, like, the payoff here. But I this character is so funny and miles ahead of anything that Max was doing a few months back.
I know, Ashley. We were to a point where we just wanted Matt Kessler to take a siesta, take a vacation, get away from AEW for a while. And now he's basically flipped the script on a lot of people, and they're getting behind this chicken shit heel Matt Kessler character, and it's entertaining.
Yeah, no, he is a heel. And that's it's funny. It's like I kind of felt that way a little bit about Harley Cameron too, because when she came in, they stuck her in QTV and they tried to present her as a heel with this faction. But look at her; she's thriving as a baby face. And like when you find like the natural energy that they have, like this is perfect. Like Max Caster is going to excel at this character, and when him and Bowens like have this feud, I'm excited to see where it goes because he's completely kind of 180'd how I felt about him.
Exactly. If you had this Matt Kessler versus Effie Bowen match, say last pay per view, nobody would really care about it. And now everybody is waiting for Bowen to come back to be the one to add another L to Matt Kessler's list and take that copyright thing that he has and smash him over the head with it.
Try to get that dumb chant going.
Matt, what was it? It was like Matt Kessler, the greatest wrestler alive. Matt Kessler, the greatest wrestler alive. I'm going like too many words. So we're moving on to the third matchup between Julia Hart and Queen Adriana. And I gotta say, this was just as good as the last two they had. These two ladies clicked together, and oh my god, the headbutt that Julia Hart took from Queen Adriana. I want to go get me two tunnels and take it for myself.
Oh, yeah. No, Queen Aminata, man, I'm so excited to see what she does. These matches with Julia Hart have been really good, and it sucks to see her take a loss here, but it'll be interesting to see where it goes considering the pre-match stuff with Serena Deeb. I don't know if this means we're kind of maybe going to have Queen Aminata rethink, maybe the babyface ways and maybe join Serena Deeb on the heel side.
You know, it's funny you said that, Ashley, because even commentary was kind of hinting at Queen Amiana having a little bit of a different temperament during this match. And they were kind of hinting at the same heel kind of change for Queen Amiana. And I think the pairing with Serena Davis would be kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like, Serena Deeb was supposed to have, like, a program with Britt Baker before, Britt Baker ended up kind of, uh, being taken off TV, for, reasons. Um, so it's kind of a nice way to get her back on TV and slip her into somewhere where she can help somebody who's, like, hasn't had much of the TV exposure like Serena Deeb. I think it'll be a good thing for Queen Aminata to learn under her.
Very true. So we're moving on to the main event of Saturday night's 1 hour episode of Collision. And it's the Don Callis family defeating Powerhouse Hobbs, Mark Briscoe, and Rocky Romero in a great freaking trios match.
Yeah, and kind of a random trio there of Briscoe Hobbs and Rocky Romero, but I it's always great to see Rocky Romero come back on TV.
Well, I kinda knew he was gonna be the one that takes the pin, but
Yeah.
he's so dang good during the match, you kinda forget about it, and Katesha here was just rocking that night because he had 2 amazing blue thunder bombs, and one was asking for the pin on Rocky Romero. I'm, like, going, they're reheating Katesha up from his loss to Kenny Omega, and whatever they get planned for Katesha next is gonna be good.
Yeah. I they gotta start thinking about putting him in the title picture soon because, man, he's so good and the reactions he gets are off the charts. I your title picture soon has gotta be like the Fletcher Osprey to Takeshita triangle.
Very true. I feel like any one of those 3s could be your next AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Maybe we'll talk about next week if we think maybe Moxley versus Swerve that might change the title picture, or are we just kicking it down the road for somebody else to take over the AEW World Title and Moxley versus Swerve is only a placeholder? So we're moving on to the first match of the Sunday edition of Collision, and it's for your AEW Trio titles, and it's the Death Riders who defeat the team of AR Fox and Top Flight. After which, Ashlee Andretti and Leo Rush decided to beat down on Top Flight, so we're reuniting that feud.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that, like, I'm glad if we're getting it, but this I feel like we've drawn this out for quite a while. I feel like this should have been wrapped up a bit ago.
I know, it feels like one of these choose your own adventures, and you kinda put a footnote where you wanted to go back to, and now we're going back to this Ashlee Andretti, Leo Rush versus Top Flight feud that we were supposed to have, like, a while back.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never turn down, like you said, like we said earlier about, like, seeing AR Fox on TV, it's always great to see that, and it was a very good trios match. Not a match where it felt like the trios titles were in any real jeopardy for the yeah, for the Death Riders, but a good match nonetheless, and hopefully, possibly, maybe at Dynasty, we can get this blow off for the Crew and Top Flight and get past it.
Hopefully, but I got a feeling that this is gonna be the first of a series of matches between the Crew and Top Flight, so just stay tuned, everybody. Up next, gotta say, my favorite match of the Sunday edition of Collision, Bambino versus Johnny TV. And Johnny TV is somebody they need to put on TV more than what they've been doing because this was a great match. And I just love the fact that Johnny turns to the TV and goes like, I'm TV ready.
Yeah, that when he ran from corner to corner and Bandito, like, drop kicked him out of the corner and stomped on him, that I was like, Johnny TV is kind of the perfect guy to come in and take a loss because he bumps like a madman. Like, he for as long as he's been doing this, he still bumps like crazy. Like, I could imagine, like, him versus Darby or something, and that could be, like, some crazy bump match right there.
So Bambino wins this with the 21 plex. After this match, we see Bambino call out the learning tree because he wants to get his hands on Chris Jericho for all the things he's done to his family and his brother taking the mess. And Chris Jericho did the one thing that nobody should ever do, that is put on the Luchador's mask that he stole. Luckily, at that point, I think, like, I want to see Bambino do something because it just felt like it took forever for him to punch Jericho. But luckily he did, and he ends this segment with the mask upstaging all 3 members of the learning tree. And I'm guessing we're going to Supercard Honor May 2nd, if I remember right, and we're gonna have Chris Jericho versus Bambino for that Ring of Honor World Title.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll drop it, but it would be nice to see Bandito win that belt, especially after kind of again, Jericho being this anomaly he is. Like that segment, during the pay-per-view, during Revolution and stuff, was very brutal. Him beating down Gravity with the mother in the ring. Like I was like, oh, this is like really like crazy. Like Bandito's gonna get some revenge, and I would like to see him have that revenge, especially after like a spotlight.
I know, especially after segment, after this match, because Jericho just stood there for minute after minute, just telling Baby what he did last time. And I'm going like, anybody in their right mind, if you mess with my brother, you mess with my mom, I'm not gonna wait for you to do this diatribe. I'm gonna beat the hell out of you from the start.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that Bandito can kind of pull this out because I would love to see him kind of come into Ring of Honor and have some of the matches with some of the guys that are consistently on Ring of Honor.
It would be some good stuff, I gotta say, good stuff. So our next match is Hardy Cameron versus Miss Bonnet, who is a local talent there. It was a nice showing for Hardy Cameron. We're still building Hardy Cameron, and this face run is so great.
Honestly, just put her on TV for the whole hour, 2 hours somehow in any capacity. She is one of the most entertaining people all around in AEW.
Now they didn't do her any favors because the next match up is Hologram Commander versus Derico and Beast Mortos. And I'm thinking, she said she was going to be on commentary. She was on commentary for just a little bit, but she had to run all the way back to the back to grab the mask for Hologram to come out. I was like, dude, can we separate these matches just a little bit?
I kinda like it bleeding right into it, especially because of the sheer goofiness of Harley Cameron pretending to not know who Harley Quinn is, but still wearing the same exact outfit and just coming back out with the mask. Um, I don't e I like, this match was crazy, this was exactly what you expect, and I loved getting to see Dralistico, especially, like, we don't get to see him as often. We've seen a lot of Beast Mortos lately with how over he's gotten, but it's nice to see Dralistico get a lot of nice spots in there, and Commander and Hologram are I don't know what we're gonna do with Hologram, but I feel like soon he's going to have a singles title.
Okay, I agree with you, Ashley. But in the meantime, in between times, could you imagine Commander and Hologram versus Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin for those AEW tag team titles? Because, dude, I can just see Commander and Hologram bouncing around for Bobby Lashley, and that's something I want to see.
Yeah, honestly, that would be good. Bobby Lashley would be such a good base for some of the stuff they do.
And Shelton Benjamin can probably master athleticism, and I
Mhm.
feel like Shelton would be like, "Yeah, these two guys, we're gonna beat these two guys. Yeah, let's go do this."
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially with how good Shelton has looked since coming into AEW, easily he could hang with them.
So that has been your recap for Collision and Dynamite here on All Elite Radio. On to a new segment that I drummed up over the weekend. And actually, I call this heat up or cool off. Now, you have a choice. I'm going to give you a wrestler. You can either say, I want this wrestler to be heated up by AEW. I want to see him more on TV. I want to see this person get pushed. Or if I just happen to pick Chris Jericho, you can want to cool him off or send him to Antarctica to cool him off. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So my first professional wrestler I'm giving you is going to be Mark Davis. Do you want to heat Mark Davis up or you want to cool him off?
Oh, for sure, I wanna heat him up. I think his showing last week was exactly what he needed since kind of returning. I feel like he sort of floundered, they hadn't really found the spot for him. They've had him doing this Don Callis stuff with where he hasn't really explained himself, but doesn't really seem comfortable with Don Callis. He looked fantastic, and I want to see them push him and do something with him and Kyle Fletcher in this Don Callis family, whether that's him kind of breaking whatever this whole Don Callis is over, Kyle Fletcher, and maybe we get the return of Aussie Open, even if it's just for a little bit. Um, I don't know what it would be, but for right now, heat him up. You got him coming up right now against Powerhouse Hobbs. I don't know if he'll take that win with the way we've been pushing Powerhouse Hobbs, but I wouldn't even put it past it.
Okay, so watching the four-way match from last week's episode of Dynamite, he was the star of the match. I mean, granted, Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey won the match, but through the match, I was watching Martin Davis go insane, and I'm going like, he's making me want to care about a Mark Davis single run. And by the end of the match, I'm going like, he needs to be challenging for the TNT title. So I'm with you. Let's heat Mark Davis up.
Right, have him break away and give us Mark Davis versus Brian Cage.
Oh my freaking god, that would be a great match. And honestly, my first opinion of Mark Davis was going to be, oh, he's the Marty Jannetty of Aussie Open because we know that Kyle Fletcher is the star of the tag team. That four-way match totally flipped my mind about Mark Davis.
Yeah, I would say that's been a bit of, I think, the AEW booking that sort of failed Davis a little bit here, since he's come back. But like you said, like I feel like we've sort of found a groove over the past few weeks with, we know we're getting somewhere with this Don Callis family stuff. We've seen how good he is. I think we can pull the trigger on him and move him up now.
Okay, so my second professional wrestler I'm going to give you during the heat up or cool down segment is no other than AR Fox.
Ooh, yep, heat him up. Um, this is like I said, this is what I was gonna get into a little earlier. This guy, every time he comes out and often has a great showing and usually on the losing end of things, losing to like a kind of like a higher on the card talent. Um, but every single time, even if the crowd appears to not know who he is upon arrival, everybody is chanting for AR Fox by the end of that match. He gets over every single time he is out there. I'd like to see him do a little something more in depth. It feels like after the Swerve storyline a few years ago when he was joining the Mogul Embassy, it feels like they sort of dropped him out of contention after kind of unceremoniously dumping him from that whole thing. Um, but I feel like he's proven himself. He's come out there, he's shown himself strong week after week when he's called upon. Especially something like this week, he wasn't scheduled for a match. He comes in, puts on a showing like that against Will Ospreay. I thought he looked great in that trios match. Like I said, I didn't kind of expect them to win that match at all, but he still looked fantastic out there, got everybody going. You got this, like commander, hologram, lucha kind of circle of people you're pushing. I certainly feel like you could put him in that category and move him up.
See, I was thinking if you didn't have Adam Cole going after the TNT title, I feel like AR Fox would be perfectly suited to be the challenger to Daniel Garcia, and those matches would bang, and I would give AR Fox a run at the TNT title.
Yeah, I mean, even it's tough with Kenny Omega as the international champion. I feel like, that title's kind of become a little harder to grasp for people kind of in Air Fox's stature on the roster. But, like, even something like that, I think would have been a good title for him. But like you said, something like a Daniel Garcia TNT title match would be really great. Um, I mean, even if you put him in something more consistent and focus him in Ring of Honor, I mean, I could see him going after, like, the Ring of Honor World Television title or, even fighting Commander, like, come on. I would like to see that, do that some one-on-one down in Ring of Honor, maybe think about putting the title on Air Fox down there.
And like you said, like anytime you see him on TV, he gets himself over. I literally was at a episode of Dynamite where they had AR Fox fill in for somebody. The crowd behind me didn't know who the hell AR Fox was, and literally, I had a guy scream at AR Fox like, "Who the hell are you?" And by the end of the match, the dude shut up because he saw how talented AR Fox was.
Yeah, and I think if you can give him something solid, like a story to work himself into or, something that he can kind of focus on, I think he would be up to the task. I would like to see the booking for him be a little better.
So my third person on my list here for heat up or cool down is our AEW World Champion John Moxley.
Hmm, this is a tough one.
I know it's a tough one because you can go either way here, I do believe.
I do feel like there's arguments for both sides of it. That's why I think for me, I would I like it's tough to say cool down your world champion, right? Like it's hard to say that. Um I think after this match this week, I think he might have to cool down, to be completely honest. Um, I feel like this Death Riders thing, like, has been really weird. It felt, like, really exciting at first, didn't feel exciting, felt like it got better again, feel like we've stagnated a little bit again. I don't know who's I don't know who's booking this storyline. I don't know if this is TK, I don't know if this is Moxley. Um, I feel like maybe you gotta cool him down until you can figure something out here, because this is, I think, the most divisive storyline I've seen, especially amongst, like, kind of like kind of like even the strongest of AEW fans kind of seem to not like this storyline. And it feels like they're kind of going on the fly with something that should be booked to feel more important.
Okay, if I changed this from John Moxley to the Death Riders, would that made it an easier choice for you?
Then I think I'd say, like, you have to heat them up. You have to find something. I You have the trios titles on Claudio, Pac, and Yuta, and sometimes I don't even remember that, you know? They're so inconsistently defended, they don't really even show up with them on TV. We haven't seen the world title because Mox is still kind of hiding it. I think in that case, you gotta kick them into something, like, I we knew this Cope thing was kind of a filler, and I feel like even the filler now has gotten even more filler. Like, I feel like I don't know, I feel like it should have ended at Revolution, but because of the way it did, they sort of felt like they had to fix it.
I'm gonna go with cool down, and I'm saying for John Moxley and the Death Riders because, like you, I thought when they first kicked this off, it was a hot idea. It felt kind of exciting. I think it suffered from the fact that everybody they could possibly face on the main event level was also heels at the time because
Mhm.
you had the elite all be heels. So who are you facing the team Death Riders? Because when they started, they were warring with everybody in AEW. And you were looking around going like, who's AEW's defenders? The elite are heels, so they can't fight this group. And literally the Young Bucks decided, hey, we're good, we're gonna head home.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like, a few weeks ago, it felt really weird that the first, like, battle Mox had out of the gate was with, like, Darby and Orange Cassidy and all of these guys that, like, were, like, fighting for, like, what seemed to be, like, the soul of AEW, like, it felt like the most important thing, and then when we went to Mox versus Cope, like, that just felt like a title match. And
Exactly.
it felt like such a weird, like, we went from something that felt like it should have been, like, the biggest thing into something that was like, "Okay, yeah, it's the title match," but it didn't feel like it had the stakes or, like, the weight behind it, like, versus Darby or versus Orange Cassidy. Um, I feel like it was weird that we didn't see Jay White, you know? Like, we haven't seen, like, him pop up again, even though he has history and stuff going on with Mox and Co. I don't know what the answer is with this Death Riders thing because, like, it feels like they keep like I said, like, it feels like they're almost doing it, like, week by week, like, they're not exactly sure what they're going to do at this point, and they're kinda dragging it like the Mox versus Cope on a little bit. I don't know if this is all in service of still waiting for Darby, but I don't even know if I see Mox losing the title to Swerve, so I don't know what we're going to do in this situation.
Exactly. That's why I'm afraid. I'm afraid that poor Source Sutton is not gonna repeat history and win the AW World Title in St. Louis. I don't think that's going to be the thing. I could be wrong. I'm hoping we'll see. So my last person I want to ask you about on Heat Up or Cool Down is one of our favorites, Queen Aniana.
Well, I feel like this is enough, this one. Um, Heat her up. Whatever we're doing here with, Serena Deeb, perfect. Keep it up. I wanna see more character development from her. I wanna see if we do turn her heel, I'm interested to see how this goes. Um, I'm interested to see if we keep her feuding with Julia Hart because Julia Hart didn't seem like the most decisive win, we'll say. So I'm interested to see if they continue this.
Very true. I do think there might be another match with Julia Hart versus Queen Aniana in the future. But if we're going to make Queen Aniana a heel, w after May Bang gets done fighting Tony Storm, we need somebody for the AEW Women's World Title to challenge Tony Storm. Why not Queen Aniana?
Yeah, I mean, she's another one who much like AR Fox, like, she hasn't had many, spotlight features on AEW TV, but every time she had, she's gotten herself super over with the crowd and online and stuff like that with the fans. I would love to see her be more focused on a spotlight. I feel like the women's division, the stuff that they've been doing has felt, like, very meaningful, and I appreciate that, like, everything has felt, like, meaningful and I'm excited to see where everything goes from Mercedes to Tony to Aminata to Megan Bayne to Statlander to Willow. They got everything, and I'm excited to see, especially somebody like Queen Aminata. She's young and like I said earlier, working with somebody like Serena Deeb should do nothing but help her, and I don't think she could ask for a better teacher.
No, 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 she couldn't. This is gonna be a great pairing if they go down the road with Serena Deeb and Queen Aniana. I kinda wish we had AEW Women Tag Team titles because I feel like they would be the perfect AEW Women Tag Team titles holders to kick this thing off.
Right, especially because 'cause they've been pairing off women again, and, like, that always puts that thought out there.
And I feel like we get it once a year or so, but I really feel like it's something they need to look at. I would have unified the Continental and the International title for the men, so you can have these AEW Women Tag Team titles that honestly the girls should have.
Yeah, honestly, do that, especially for that men's title, yeah, especially do that. I That Continental title is kind of one of the most unnecessary titles.
Very true. So that has been heat up or cool off. So if you have a wrestler from AEW that you like us to say heat up or cool off, why don't you go over to our YouTube channel and leave a comment and we'll have a look. So we're going to wrap up this episode of All Elite Radio with previewing Wednesday night's Dynamite coming up. And Ashley, I've seen the card here, and this card is stacked.
Yeah, some big matches announced, and I'm pretty excited for these.
Well, the first match we're going to talk about is Powerhouse Halls versus Mark Davis. I'm going to have my popcorn ready. This is a hoss fight. This is going to be great.
Yeah, and hopefully, kind of we'll have another good showing for Mark Davis, and we can get more of him, and Powerhouse Hobbs has looked great with his push lately. Very excited to see this.
I'm hoping we see a Powerhouse Hobbs victory here. I want to see Powerhouse Hobbs gets pushed more down the road to be elevated to the upper mid card, maybe a challenger for John Moxley in that AEW World title, maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed. But I am looking forward to this match. Let's move on to our next match on the card. And it's the tag team match. It's Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm teaming together against Penelope Ford and Megan Bang. I get a feeling this match is going to break down and probably not have a result to this match.
That I does feel like that could be a possibility. Nice to see the return of Thunderstorm. I'm just happy we're getting to see like Thunder Rosa again. Feels like I know she was out for a long time and she hasn't had too many matches since returning. So glad to see her back and involved in this. And I'll just, I'll keep both of them in my thoughts because Megan Bayne is a very scary, scary strong woman.
I never thought Amazonian women were real until I saw Megan Bang. I swear that she is Amazonian.
Right? I mean, even sitting next to Chris Statlander this past week, I was like, "Man, Chris Statlander is no small woman, she's very tall and and she looks small standing next to Megan Bayne."
I know. And I'm like looking at Chris Statler and going like, wait a minute, no, no. Chris Statler is pretty tall for a female professional wrestler, and Megan Bang was towering over her.
Yeah, and I think before that, I think she might have been maybe the tallest woman or one of the tallest women on the roster.
So we're moving on to the next match that was announced, and it's going to be Mark Bristle versus Kahesha. So get your popcorn ready and put in your mouth guard because this is going to be a slow knocker. This is going to be some hard hitting action.
Yeah, I think, maybe it's a Takeshita win here, but this should be a very interesting match. I Mark Briscoe has always got an interesting style, so it'll be interesting to see him go against Takeshita's, like, hard-hitting style.
Well, Katasha is coming off of his defeat to Kenny Omega and losing his international championship. I feel like Mark Bristol's at a point in his career where I don't think losses hurt as much as it would do somebody else because I feel like the fans will always support Mark Briscoe. So I feel like this is a match where you give Katasha a good opponent, and if you decide to give Katasha the win here, even if it was clean, you don't do any damage to Mark Briscoe. You can bring Mark Briscoe out on Collision, and the fans will still be supporting Mark Briscoe.
Yeah, no, it's nice to see AEW put these matches together that are, they're 2 names that they have, kind of heated up right now or who are in the middle of things right now, so it's it feels like it should be a big deal, whoever wins or loses this match, and like you said, like, Mark Briscoe, while I think he'll be on the losing end of this match, I don't think we'll lose anything, and he'll continue on with, anything he's got going on, and the fans will always support him, so.
And our next match we're going to talk about is Brody King versus Kyle freaking Fletcher. They're just making sure this is going to be the best episode of Dynamite possible.
Possible match of the night right here. I I can't wait for. This is probably the match. I mean, Mark Briscoe and Takeshita looks awfully exciting, but the way Brody King has showed out and this run Kyle Fletcher has been on, I am excited to see Brody King put himself on that level.
I so badly want to see Brody King defeat Kyle Fletcher here because I'm a Brody King fan. And I wanted to see him get some victories here, but I got a feeling that he's here for the shine of Kyle Fletcher, the proto star. And I got a feeling that King will take the pin here. I'm hoping they do some outside interference or something to lessen the effect on Brody King.
Some outside interference or something because man, I don't wanna see Brody King take another loss, but this is exactly what I'm talking about, like, I don't wanna see Brody King take a loss, but Kyle Fletcher's just coming off that huge loss against Will Ospreay too, so I mean, come on, TK. Surprise everybody. Give it to Brody King. We need a Brody King single well, I don't wanna say singles run, but, like, we need something if especially if Buddy Murphy is going to be out for a bit.
Very true, because up to the point that Buddy Murphy was not gonna miss some time, I'm thinking, "Oh, let's get them with the Hurt Syndicate," because dude, those matches would freaking rock.
Yeah, and I'll still be waiting for them when Buddy does get back.
So the last match we're gonna talk about on this show is Kenny Omega versus Blake Christian,
This
and
should be a good one. Blake Christian's been showing out on Ring of Honor over the past few months. Um, I I know they probably won't kind of go over the correlation there, but he's looked very good and had multiple high profile matches in Ring of Honor lately, and I think Kenny Omega is going to kind of put him on the map this week.
I kind of feel that this is why this match is happening. I feel like Omega wants to do a good favor and put a good showing for Blake Christian because lot of Twitter was against this match. They had a like Blake who, and I feel like after this Wednesday, they're going to basically say this is Blake Christian. You were wrong for saying Blake who.
Yeah, no, and truthfully, people who haven't seen him will kind of have to eat it when they see him because he is when you see his character, he is unfortunately very good.
I gotta say, come Thursday morning, there's going to be a lot of humble pie being served.
Yeah, for sure. Um, he's gonna put on a very good match against Kenny Omega, and I'm if we're kinda gonna get these defenses from Kenny Omega, like, I don't wanna see anybody complaining. I wanna see Kenny Omega versus the entire roster right now.
I want to see Kenny Omega versus the world since we're doing this international title and we can bring people in from different promotions. I'm like, give me like here, I'll put one out into the world. Give me Kenny Omega versus Michael Oku.
There you go. Yeah, like, why not?
Why not?
They already AEW and Michael Oku are not, not
Not
unfamiliar
strangers.
with each
They're
other.
not
Yeah.
strangers.
Be nice to see somebody come in and kind of make that international title mean international.
Very true. And will you not be excited for a Kenny Omega versus a Michael Oku match?
No, that would be great, and I would love to see, like, even if they did, like they used to do with Pac. Remember, like, Pac used to go out to, like, the other promotions?
Yeah, yeah.
Do that, man, like, you see Kenny Omega, like, pop up somewhere else and have, like, a big match would be so cool. I would love to see him kinda get that opportunity.
That would be very cool. Cause could you imagine Kenny Omega just happen to drop in on Rev Pro or Progress or head over to, like, Noah or New Japan? It'd be great.
Yeah, yeah, oh my god, I feel like there's a lot of possibilities, and I feel like Kenny Omega might hang on to this title for a bit. I feel like AEW sees, like, some potential things to do with him as that champion.
Well, I got a strong feeling that we're heading to Texas and we're heading with a date with the Okada one.
For sure. I feel like we were already planting some seeds right after Omega's win, so it'll be interesting to see if we end up unifying those titles then and there. Maybe that's when we kinda pull the trigger on doing something like that. Um, but if that's an indication of what we're going for to Texas, people might wanna get their tickets for Texas.
Yeah, I would give him fast because this is gonna be some kind of show. Because if you get a Kenny Omega versus a Okada one match here on American soil, I'm like, sign me up, take my money.
Yeah. If the kind of, like, proposed plan that we've seen, kind of coming to fruition is going to be what we're going to heading into All In this pay-per-view, like, on top of, like, every pay-per-view AEW has, this might be the best pay-per-view AEW has been putting together.
Very fair point. So, Ashley, where can we find you on the super information superhighway?
I'm on Blue Sky, it's at groovyash.bsky.social, and I'm always just, posting along with the shows live.
And one of the best follows for any AEW show is Ashley. So do that. You can always follow this show on our Instagram or our TikTok account at All Elite Radio. And until we see you next week on All Elite Radio, have a stunning week. Enjoy your professional wrestling. Guns up.